Hello, 6th grade teachers. This video overview of social studies has been created to help you understand what the 6th grade year of social studies looks like. In each unit, I will share the concepts that are elevated within these units. In addition, due to organizing concepts being used to organize student learning goals within planning templates, I'll offer a brief description of the organizing concepts and highlight some general ideas related to what students will be doing and thinking about to arrive at the unit's understandings. As always, please refer to planning templates for greater specificity. On this slide, you see the titles of units, titles that elevate a year of learning that is entirely focused on the Western Hemisphere. Below titles are the lengths of units. If you add up all of the low-end days, you'll see that this is equal to 80% of the student contact days in a year. If you add up the high-end days, you'll see that this is equal to 100% of the student contact days in a year. This flexibility was established to allow for reteaching when necessary, or possibly exploring topics with greater depth. It honors the disruptions that might happen during a school year and the different teachers and learners we have in all of our classrooms. The first unit of the year is Early Cultures and Development Over Time. This unit allows students to begin their studies of the Western Hemisphere through the lenses of history and geography. In history, the planning templates are organized using the concepts of historical process and the interactions among people, events, and ideas. In addition, history conceptual big ideas are present, those of continuity and change over time, and unity and diversity. In geography, planning templates highlight the organizing concept of spatial inquiry with concepts of human and physical interaction, region, location, and spatial orientation elevated as big idea concepts. The first organizing concept comes from history and focuses on interactions among people, events, and ideas. Historians study the interactions among people, events, and ideas to make sense of eras and understand cause and effect relationships. Think of it like a chemical reaction with new ingredients in every mixture. Those new ingredients are the people, events, and ideas within a certain time period. If we place the people, events, and ideas of an era into a mixing pot, they blend together and create outcomes that cause history to progress uniquely. By considering the interactions among people, events, and ideas, historians are able to predict why our global story has moved forward in unique ways, and how that story includes elements that change and elements that stay the same. Within this unit, students learn about the early cultures of the Western Hemisphere, in a time when there was minimal interaction across cultures. These early cultures developed their own belief systems, their own daily life structures and methods of survival, their own forms of artistic expression, and their own forms of technology. As students explore the next key era of development in the Western Hemisphere, they consider the era of European exploration and analyze how those cultural interactions brought social and cultural change. These cultural interactions are the foundation of this concept as students see how the event of European exploration caused different people and ideas to interact, thereby changing the face of the Western Hemisphere. Last, students look at the Western Hemisphere as it is today, reflecting on how people and nations have developed socially and culturally due to various events, ideas, and interactions. As students explore this concept, they will examine social and cultural elements of places, analyze interactions over key eras and consider their impact, and analyze how and why the Western Hemisphere has developed socially and culturally. The second organizing concept, historical process, defines the process historians use to construct the stories of history. While we are supporting students in learning history, our goal is to help students think like historians and use processes that historians use in their daily practice. For example, historians use a variety of sources and perspectives to develop complex historical understanding. In this process, students construct history by using each new source to understand the stories of history with increasing complexity. Reading a textbook or a video retelling of events is a secondary source, as these sources were created by historians who analyzed primary sources. Primary sources are the documents, images, journals, and historical pieces of evidence that are used to make sense of history. They are the actual pieces of history. Every time a student explores another perspective or an additional primary source, the story becomes more layered and complex. History is not a single strand or a single story as told in a textbook. History is the fabric of perspectives and stories woven together through the historical process. As students explore this concept, they will construct history, examine primary and secondary sources, evaluate different perspectives when analyzing events, ideas, and actions. They will formulate historical questions, and they'll compare the past to the present to develop historical context. The third organizing concept within this unit, spatial inquiry, is associated with geography and involves utilizing a variety of geographic tools and sources to develop spatial awareness of the world. Through the use of tools and sources, students begin to create their own mental maps of the world. Think of a time when someone asked you about an issue in the world and you turned your head up trying to picture the location of the event. At that time, you were accessing your mental map. In addition to the development of mental maps, spatial inquiry involves becoming aware of the physical landforms and landscapes, or analyzing tools and sources to understand geographic regions while considering how human systems are impacted by physical systems. In this unit, students develop their mental maps of the Western Hemisphere and use tools that help them to develop awareness of the different climate regions and physical systems. While studying early cultures, students have the opportunity to consider how the local physical systems may have influenced the human systems of cultures, and how the human systems of cultures may have caused people to use the physical systems in unique ways. As students explore this concept, they will use, collect, and analyze information from geographic tools, develop a general mental map of the Western Hemisphere, and connect people and their problems to the physical world. As students enter their second unit of study, Western Hemisphere, Economics and Political Interaction, they have the opportunity to examine different forms of government and different economic systems. In addition, these ideas are given greater context as students view the modern-day economic components of nations in the Western Hemisphere, and how places in the Western Hemisphere have developed politically and economically. Opportunity cost is the concept which is used to organize the planning template, while additional economic concepts of scarcity and cost and choice are significant in student learning. In civics, students explore learning related to understanding the purpose of government, and they also have opportunities to develop the concept of power and authority, government, and citizenship. The first organizing concept, purpose of government, is linked to civics. Purpose of government exposes students to the question of why do we have government? In their fifth grade studies of the U.S. Constitution, students gained a sense of how past ideas influenced our nation's beliefs about government, and how our nation's founders answered the question why do we have government, which resulted in the United States government. Our nation's governmental ideas are based on the notion that citizens are involved in defining the purpose of government in society. Within the context of this unit, students examine the inclusion or lack of citizen involvement and citizen input. As compared to our nation's democratic government, the opposite end of the spectrum is an authoritarian government, where the liberty and influence of citizens can look and feel very different. Studying different forms of government throughout the Western Hemisphere, students begin to recognize that citizen input is valued and considered in different ways and in different places. As students explore this concept, they will identify different forms of government, examine citizenship over time in different places, examine political development over time in the Western Hemisphere, and examine different economic components of governments. The other organizing concept in this unit, opportunity cost, is associated with economics. Opportunity cost implies that people and nations have choices. When one choice is made, any alternative choices are the opportunity costs. Within the context of this unit, students examine the traditional, command, market, and mixed economic systems, and analyze why certain systems might be chosen by some nations. In addition, the personal financial literacy standards are embedded into this unit as students consider the idea of financial well-being. This plays out with learning goals connected to how individuals and nations choose economic systems and make economic choices. The choices of individuals and nations are the same, and they involve saving, spending, and investing. Individuals and nations both make choices, and those choices are directly tied to financial well-being. As students explore this concept, they will apply economic reasoning, such as opportunity cost, incentives, impact of scarcity, and goal setting. They'll compare the choices that individuals and nations make related to financial well-being, and students will analyze how specialization and interdependence are related to economic systems. The final unit of the year, Western Hemisphere, Exploring Geographic Issues, allows students to pull together everything they have learned related to history, geography, economics, and civics. This study is meant to explore various issues of human geography, analyzing the social, political, cultural, and economic impact of issues on local citizens. Students also recognize how people in a global society are interconnected because of geographic issues. The organizing concepts used to communicate learning goals are movement and interdependence, and spatial inquiry. These geography concepts focus learning, but student goals also elevate the geography big idea concepts of human and physical interaction, perception, and systems. Two civics big idea concepts are also developed within the learning, those of government and citizenship. Movement and interdependence, the first organizing concept, highlights how people of the Western Hemisphere are interdependent and how ideas move. For example, as our world begins to encounter various geographic issues, they impact all of us and cause people to become interdependent in implementing potential solutions. The potential solutions to geographic issues come from people. Sometimes those ideas come from a few people, sometimes they come from a nation. These ideas are shared and the ideas move throughout the world, carried by information networks among individuals, groups, and leaders. Not only can ideas move, but sometimes geographic issues cause people to move. So the idea of movement is linked to ideas and the movement of people. And the concept of interdependence is what connects all people as we figure out how to survive and prosper in a developing and changing world. As students explore this concept, they will explain geographic issues and justify potential solutions, analyze how development solves geographic issues and or creates new geographic issues, and students will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of living in an interconnected world. Students approach geographic issues through the organizing concept of spatial inquiry. Through this concept, students come to understand our world through analysis and the use of geographic tools and sources. As students explore this concept, they will examine various geographic sources such as maps, charts, graphs, diagrams, text, and videos. They'll ask questions, and they'll collect, analyze, interpret, and use data. Please refer to the Stage 1 planning templates for greater specificity about the desired results for student learning within each unit of study. In addition, refer to Stage 2 and 3 supports for assessment examples and resources that are aligned to these units of study, knowing that these supports will continue to develop over time.